Hello everybody, my name is Stéphane Erler. I'm the founder of the Tea Masters blog and also the manager of the tea-masters.com tea boutique. Welcome to a new tea class where we learn about tea, because there's a lot of false information and I'm here to give you the right one. So today we are doing a class about Yixing teapots. Here and here you see lots of Yixing teapots, and our focus is going to be on the Japanese market, because Japanese have also enjoyed drinking tea for a long time, and they have purchased teapots from China, from Yixing, but with a little bit special requirements. They have a different taste than the Chinese and international brewers, and we're going to see a bit about it. But before that, because this is part of our general culture about tea, I want to come back and maybe give you some more information about how this tea culture came about in Japan. What makes tea a bit special in Japan? We can see the items like the nilu that look very much like a nilu from the Qing dynasty for Gongfu cha. Actually, the teapots that we see from Yixing, they look like regular teapots for Gongfu cha, quite small in size, also Yixing material, but there are some in the details. It's going to be a bit different. So how come the Japanese are drinking also using small teapots for Gongfu cha? Actually, if we want to understand this, we have to go back to the end of the Ming Dynasty, and with the exchanges coming from China, you will hear when you make a search on sencha-do, the way of Japanese sencha tea, that there is a priest and abbot from China called In Yuan Longqi, who is also called as known as Ingen or Baisao. He came from Fujian, from the Wanfu temple in Huangboshan, and he founded the Obaku Zen sect in Japan, a Buddhist Zen sect, and he established especially the Manpukuji temple in Kyoto. This temple is so very important because it's the head of many other temples from this sect in Japan. That's the one that this Chinese abbot founded. He lived between 1592 and 1673. And this temple in Kyoto is also the center of the Sencha-do Association of Japan, where they will perform tea ceremonies using the Sencha-do method twice a year. And so this is really like the grandfather of the Sencha-do school of tea in Japan. But at the time, if you go to this temple, this Manpukuji temple in Kyoto, you will, if you are lucky, and if you ask nicely, actually they have two Yixing teapots in their storage. They're not really for display for everybody to see, but they exist. These two, you can also maybe find them on pictures in the guide or online. And these two Yixing teapots are very large, and actually it makes sense because in the Ming Dynasty, tea was mostly green tea, and it was made in large teapots, not yet in smaller teapots. So this was normal at the time. The one type teapot is made by Shedabin, a famous Yixing teapot maker, and there's a gap between now these smaller teapots that we have in Japan market. How do we do this junction between Inyuan Longqi from the end of the Ming Dynasty to the end of the Qing Dynasty, when lots of Japanese were using teapots, smaller teapots that are very much similar to the Gongfu cha? Actually, here we have to think of the explanation given by René Girard, a French philosopher. He wrote very famously about a concept that he uses to explain lots of things. It's called mimetic desire. Mimetic desire, as the name suggests, means we desire things to imitate other people. And at that time in Japan, rich merchants, rich people, they really wanted to imitate the emperor, his court, the samurai in their pastime. And these noble people in Japan, what was their pastime? It was drinking tea, but tea in a special way. It was matcha, it was chadao, the chado. In Japan, which means making tea in a bowl with green tea powder and whisking it with bamboo whisk, in a way that is an adaptation already from the Song Dynasty way of tea in China. But this school of making tea and learning about chado was completely closed off. It was only reserved for the nobility in Japan. So the rich merchants, no matter how rich they were never invited to these classes. They were not able to learn chado. So they still wanted to imitate the nobility, so but were not able to learn this way of making tea in a bowl. So they turned to another place to imitate another way of tea, and because they were merchants and the Chinese, they had a lot of contact with China, which is of course the big neighbor next to Japan, and a very large group of merchants in China are actually the people from Guangzhou and Chaoshan in particular. The Chaozhou people are very good. They are located at a port on the sea, and therefore they do a lot of trade with other nations in Southeast Asia, with Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and also with Japan. And thanks to this trade, the Japanese merchants were in contact with these Chaoshan merchants, and Chaoshan merchants were drinking Gongfu cha. And so, while we have the Chinese monks that brought Chinese tea, green tea traditions to China, to Japan, sorry, already several hundred years before that. In the 19th century, there was another way of another influence on Japanese tea making. It is through these merchants, and therefore, by the Japanese imitated the Gongfu cha, but using this time sencha, the local green tea from Japan. But when you look at the sets from the 19th century that the Japanese were using, it's really amazing how similar it is to the Chaozhou Gongfu cha. Many, the best of course were to import them directly, and then little by little the artists in Japan learned to copy and they replaced the imports from China with local productions. However, the Japanese tea masters had a different way of looking at beauty than the Chinese. So this we can see in the Book of Tea by Okakura Kakuzo, which I have here in French, and it tells a story to explain this kind of difference in the sense of beauty in this book. There's an anecdote that one, I'll find it very quickly. I hope I had it before. Yes, here it is. So it is a story about Kobori Enshu. His students complimented him on the perfect taste that he showed in composing his collection, and so they were telling him, "Oh, each piece in your collection, we cannot help but admire it. This really proves that your taste is much better than Rikyu, because his collection can only be appreciated by one person in 1,000. Rikyu being the teacher who founded all the matcha schools. And so Enshu, he was very sad by this. He says, "Oh, what you say just proves that I'm vulgar. The great Rikyu, he was able to love objects that touched him deeply, whereas my own taste is the same as the taste of common people. So in truth, Rikyu is 1,000 times better than all the other tea masters, because he's able to have a sincere feeling for items that have imperfections." So this shows that the Japanese eye for beauty is not just about something that is perfect, beautiful in shape and balanced and nicely decorated, but there should be some imperfections making this teapot very unique. So on this teapot, for instance, which was exported to Japan, this Duani Tiliang, you will see that here it is darker in color than elsewhere, because this teapot was overfired on this side. So if you are an Yixing collector and you look for harmony, maybe you will think, oh, this one is not well made, because here you can better see it here. On this side, it is much darker than on this side. This is overfired. But a Japanese collector, he will look at this and think, oh, there were maybe hundreds of teapots in the kiln, but only one or two were overfired, and this is one of them. This is really something that only happens in very rare cases on those teapots that were too close to the fire. So this makes this, and otherwise the teapot did not break. It still resisted, so it can still be used. It does not affect its function, but it makes it unique. So this is the kind of imperfect beauty that the Japanese collectors were looking for. Similar for this Julunju. Already this is a kind of a very round, Julunju means it's a very flat and round knob on top of the teapot. And this style of teapots were very, very rough. We can still see the marks of the tools on the spout. This spout looks not very done very quickly, but this was made on purpose because the makers of these Julonju, they knew these teapots are for the Japanese market, and the Japanese, they like to see these little imperfections. They like to see the, the, the hand of the maker on the teapot. And therefore also inside the teapot, when you touch it, you will still feel how it is, how the Zisha clay was stick together here at the handle. It's really very obvious. It has not been polished inside like many do nowadays, but it remains very, very rough. And so there's a feeling that these teapots are more unique because they have these little imperfections, and each one will be a little bit different. And also we can see in these three teapots, the spout is always quite similar. Apparently, this is also a kind of spout that the Japanese liked a lot. We can see it also on my kettle, a Japanese silver kettle. It's the similar shape, very short but straight, but not on a water balanced line, but a little bit open. Now, let's brew a bit some tea. I start to be thirsty. Today I have a new tea from my store. It is the first Bilochun from this year. It was harvested by hand in Sanxia on March the 5th. And here it is. So it's the first batch of the year. This is always the most delicate batch because you can see the leaves, because these are the leaves that receive the fewest time of sunshine. So it was still very cold when they grew. So they grow very, very small. So they're very concentrate, and because and we had luck, they were lucky today. Well, they were lucky this week. It was a very beautiful sunny day on the 5th, perfect for the harvest. And now I'm excited to drink and brew it, a bit like the Japanese. So it's a bit I did it on purpose to use a green tea like the Japanese. Just since I'm in Taiwan, I don't have sencha in my selection, but we have this wonderful Bilochun made by Qingxing Ganzong, local cultivar, and that is very suitable for this tea. It grows quite early and has a nice sweet aftertaste. Of course, the tea is a bit different than in Japan. In Japan, green tea is steamed. In China, it is fried in a wok. But in Taiwan, they are using the same ovens as they would use in for oolong to do the kill green. And we can wait a bit longer. It's a tea that is easy to brew. It can be brewed for a long time without turning bitter. So here I'm brewing it quite light. It's evening in Taiwan. So drinking it in the spirit of a sencha do, in a teapot that was originally made for the Japanese market. And in the 1930s, 20s, it was made in Shanghai. Shanghai had lots of even companies that were on the stock market and that would export their products to Japan and to other markets in Southeast Asia and in the West. And they would place order to Yixing and do be the intermediaries between the Chinese and the Chinese maker and the Japanese market. You can see a very bright, transparent, light color, light sweetness. This tea is really comes from an organic plantation, and every year I feel they are doing a great job to maintain this property and make sure that the tea plants get enough rest. And at the same time, this is a very almost like an elite tea, because only 3.6 kilograms were made, 6 gin, so a very little, very small quantity, family owned plantation. And very light, very very sweet, and rounded by the Yixing Duani teapot. So this is the way that the Japanese would enjoy their tea, imitating at first as a pastime from the nobility, but not being able to do the same method as them, the matcha method. They turned to Gongfu cha and used at first the Gongfu cha teapots, cups, nilu, kettle, everything like the people in Shaoshan, and later on, little by little, Japanese artists learned to replace each item, each accessory, and even now you'll mostly see Kyushu, these teapots with a handle being used. Their influence also came from China from a long time ago, but during the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, a lot of Yixing teapots were made for the Japanese market with the specifics that I was telling you. So I hope that you enjoyed this class. Give me thumbs up if you did. There are lots of promotions, sales going on the t-masters.com website. You can check them. Please let me know if you have any question. I'm going to turn now to your questions. I wish you a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week for another tea class about tea and health. So, thank you. What questions do we have? Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Terry. Oh, Elizabeth writes, my Julunju today holds a lot of tea and is amazing for roasted oolong and shopur. Haven't given it a chance for its green tea, thinking that the tea would cook. What do you think? And Elizabeth wonders maybe a very short brew. Uh, of course, if you have been using your Julunju for already a long time with the teas that you mentioned, shopur or roasted oolong, it's going to be very difficult to change it and use it with green tea, because green tea is much lighter, and the teapot might have already kept this scents in it for some time. These rough, well, to when we look at history, we can also understand that the quality of Yixing Zesha clay has also evolved over time. They used to be mined on top of the mine in the 19th century, and in the 20th century there was it was used mined on an industrial scale, to the point that now they have even closed most of the mines to make sure that there is still some clay that remains in the ground. So the clay that for older teapots in the Japanese market is more suitable for green tea. The teapots that were made later copying the style of the earlier teapots for the Japanese market, they use a clay that has a larger grain and that is more porous, and therefore it is less suitable now for green tea. Now here I'm fortunate that this is an older teapot, so its clay is very suitable for green tea. It is smooth and small enough, very very smooth, and when you touch it. The more modern ones, these are made in the 80s, their grain is larger, and I think is more suitable for shopur and roasted pour. So this is maybe a test that you do to figure out how old your teapot is. If it does a very good job with green tea, it might actually really be an antique one. The tea is fantastic. Thank you very much. So it's really not a question of how long the brew is, but what type of clay the teapot is made of. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you everybody a great week, and see you next week for another tea class about tea and health, and also tea pairing. Bye bye.